Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Elliot Grigg. This is a video discussing the main man, the two-time undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk, and yeah, still undefeated. Beat Daniel Dubois for the second time not so long ago. Boxing being boxing, kind of talking about who he's going to fight next, and basically, can will this guy get beat? 38 years old now and still going very strong, still clearly the best heavyweight in the world. But yeah, Elliot, I'm going to throw a couple of names at you and see what you think. First up, the guy who's kind of looks like he could be a contender to fight Alexander Usyk, but could possibly not be in the kind of the weird way boxing works now. Joseph Parker, someone who a lot of people would say kind of deserves a shot now, has been on a good run of form in the last couple of years. Give us your thoughts on that fight if it gets made, Elliot. How much of a chance would you give Joseph Parker?
I know Joseph Parker's obviously in a bit of a resurgence right now. Obviously come through Shane Wilder. But I'm going to interrupt this just to sneeze possibly in a minute. But I'm going to carry on as long as I possibly can. But I think, no, I don't give Joseph Parker much of a chance, frankly. I really don't. Despite the resurgence that he's on, I think you look at Joseph Parker, not a massive puncher, really. So I'm not really looking to like catch Usyk and stop him cold in that respect. So you're almost going, if he's going to win, it's going to be on points. Is he going to have the conditioning? All right, his conditioning's improved since been with Andy Lee over the last two times. That definitely looks in much better physical condition than he has done in the fights preceding that. But I mean, you're just looking at Usyk's known for his conditioning, known for being able to go. Obviously, the distance has obviously stopped heavyweights as well. Usyk he's had Fury hurt, he had Joshua hurt, very nearly stopped both of those guys. Has stopped Daniel Dubois twice. I just think he's got power and he's got better movement, better boxing ability than Joseph Parker. I really give Joseph Parker very, very little chance, even with the Usyk that maybe declined slightly, or that may look at this fight as sort of 80% of a challenge. Might not even take it 100% with 100% focus. I still think he's got too much for Joseph Parker. I really do. I kind of want to see it because I feel like Parker deserves a shot. Frankly, I feel like he's the run he's been on, he deserves a shot at Usyk. But I also feel not overly excited in the outcome, which I think would just be a very, very dominant Usyk victory.
Yeah, I think styles make fights, and I just don't think that this is a good. It's not a good fight for Joseph Parker. I think that unless the people going into the Dubois fight thinking, is this one fight too many for Usyk? Is Usyk getting a bit greedy? And people might say the same thing for the Joseph Parker fight. Joseph Parker, look, he's a big, strong heavyweight. At the moment, he could be at his peak. This could be the best Joseph Parker. We'll see. However, I think another factor is inactivity for Joseph Parker. Um, March 2024 had that fight against Zhilei Zhang, and then had a year out the ring before fighting Martin Bakolian. Just wasn't really much of a fight, to be honest. He just kind of knocked Bakoli over, and that was it. So I would argue he's not had much of a fight in nearly 18 months now. And if he is to fight Usyk next, but isn't to have a fight in between, that's going to be nearly 2 years without a proper fight. So I just don't think that's ideal either. But we'll see. I feel like it's an
I'll just
ongoing.
say I wouldn't take a fight past him. We saw obviously what happened with Joe Joyce. Obviously, when Joe Joyce took that fight with stopped, he was obviously in line for a title shot at one point. If I'm Joe Parker, I'll stay well away from the fight. I just keep hanging on,
Yeah.
and hopefully I can get this fight with Usyk. You don't want to take a loss now. You take a loss now, you're in the wilderness again, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the heavyweight division. So just fight the wrong fighter, fight someone who kind of gets your opportunity if they beat you, and it can end badly. So we'll see. It's an ongoing story, isn't it? I think WBO have yeah what that's what they want. So it sounds like possibly potentially Usyk might give up the WBO and Joseph Parker could fight for that instead. But we'll see. It's an ongoing story. But yeah, Joseph Parker still a contender to fight Alexander Usyk next. Moving on, Elliot. Ajit Kabayel, undefeated, very dangerous. Has gone into a couple of fights now as the underdog and won. Was the first man to stop Zhilei Zhang in his last fight. Was the first man to beat Frank Sanchez in the fight before. Was the first man to beat Arslanbek Makhmudov in the fight before that. He's been in a fantastic role. 26-0 now, 18 stoppages. I wouldn't say an unknown quantity because we've seen what he's about now. Thoughts on that fight, and is he a bigger threat than Joseph Parker?
Yeah, you know what? Fair play for Magic Kabayel as well, because I mean, like you said, Makhmudov and Sanchez both undefeated at the time when he beat him as well. So we two undefeated fighters, and obviously Zhang, yeah, right, he's not the Zhang the peak Zhang, obviously, but still a very good victory and very heavy-handed, dangerous fighter. So fair play to Magic Kabayel. I do think he actually would possess more of a threat actually than Joseph Parker. I do believe that. However, I still think you look at him size, dimensions wise, he's not. He'd be similar size to Usyk, frankly. He's not one of those giants in the division. I just feel like, again, he has got power, but I just feel like it's not enough. It's not enough for Usyk. There's not like kind of like one punch power you see from like a Wilder in a way. So it's like I just feel like he's not also got the hand speed of someone like Usyk or the sort of movement of someone like Usyk either. So I just feel like he just wouldn't. He just wouldn't. It would just kind of for me, it would just look like it would look like what I believe it to be, which would be one person on a certain level fighting someone on a level below. And kind of in a similar kind of style to a certain degree, but it's not as good as him. I think like Usyk can do whatever he wants, but I think he can move, he can punch, he could possibly stop Kabayel. But I actually would prefer to see that fight than the Parker fight, to be perfectly honest with you. But I still think it'd be Usyk, maybe late stoppage, maybe points, but I still think it'd be dominant victory either way.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Kabayel has been very impressive. I would still say I just think the wins against Zhang, Sanchez, Makhmudov, you have to question how good. I don't want to take anything away from those victories, but how good are those three? How good are those three fighters really? And I just think in terms of movement, Usyk is just considerably better than all of those fighters. If we're honest, but we'll see. I would also say with Kabayel, I think same with Joseph Parker. He's not been. I just don't. I don't think he's been that active. Had a fought Zhile Zhang in February on that fantastic card in Riyadh, and then it's all gone a bit quiet. There's been rumours of a homecoming in Germany, taking place before the end of the year. Don't know what's happening with that. Yeah, I just think activity. He's not been too active the last couple of years, but we'll see. Hopefully get some news soon. To end with Elliot, it's the really kind of interesting the really interesting one now. Moses Atalma. This video will go out before Moses Atalma fights Dillian White on August the 16th. I know you're predicting Moses Atalma to win that fight. So am I. So are 90 odd percent of people of boxing fans as well. I'm asking you this because after Usyk beat Dubois in their rematch, Turki Al Sheikh put out a tweet saying the fight he wants next is Moses Atalma versus Usyk for Usyk. Give us your thoughts, because my thoughts are when Turki Al Sheikh kind of says he wants something, a lot of the time it happens. So I just think in regards to whether kind of Usyk wants that fight, Atalma wants that fight, Atalma's team want that fight, there's a good chance that fight could happen. Maybe early next year. We're not sure when Usyk's going to fight next, but yeah, give us your thoughts on that one to round things off, please.
You know what? I think Moses Town is a special fighter. I do believe that. I think he's going to splatter Dillian White. I do also believe that. I think as a challenge, I feel like it'd be a good challenge for Usyk. I think it'd be premature possibly for Moses Itauma, frankly. You look at I think maybe one or two before he fought Usyk would be ideal. To be honest with you, he hasn't fought. Obviously, he's beaten some durable guys, and then Marius Watch, obviously experienced guy, splattered him. You look at what he's kind of done to opponents, I suppose more than the actual opponents, don't you? Like stopping them early, good hand speed, clear power. I mean, it's hard because I do like him. I can't sit here and say he's going to beat Usyk. Of course, that would sound ridiculous at this stage. But I feel like you've almost got a kind of a young version, probably a slightly better version, actually, in many ways, of what kind of Daniel Dubois was. I think he's a better boxer than Daniel Dubois. When Daniel Dubois was coming, just splattering people out, and you're going, oh, eventually he's going to be a world champion, and put him in with this person, put him in with that person. I just feel like it'd be too soon for Moses Tower, frankly. But I do feel like Usyk's 38. Maybe when he gets like 40 plus, could that fight have? Could that be like a narrowing? Could he lose a step? Could that be a real chance? Yes. So I actually think Atama for me is probably one of the shining lights, possibly the next star in the division. But he's still got to do it, and he's still got to learn. And we still haven't really seen what happens when he gets smacked back. Frankly, like we've seen him knocking people out, but we haven't seen him on defensive. And obviously, what would happen when he fights Usyk is, I imagine he would obviously get hit as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I think for me, I wouldn't like to see it next. I don't necessarily think it happens next, even though Turkey wants it. I can see why he wants it. But I feel like if you're in a Tama's team, you're probably going, can we not have at least maybe one two more after this, but because I also feel Dillian White's not the fighter he was either. That fight, if he when I expect him to beat Dillian White, that's going to be obviously promoted as a great victory. And it will be a standout victory for him, but he almost needs almost like a Kabayel. He needs to fight someone like a Makhmudov, probably someone that's like kind of a bit more live,
Yeah.
a bit more kind of active in the sort of top 10. Even maybe someone like Kabayel himself, even someone like Joe Parker. If you fight Joe Parker and beat Joe Parker, go, yeah, I'll fight Usyk. But I just think like at the moment you could actually be kind of derailing the longevity of what could be a really future star essentially by throwing him music too soon. Is my kind of view of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I wonder if I just, as I go kind of go back to my previous point, like when Turkey Al Sheikh says he wants something, a lot of the time it happens, and I just think if Moses Talma blitzes Dillian White in a couple of rounds, which definitely could happen, Turkey Turkey could come back out again and say, "Yep, so that's over now. Now we're going to see a Talma versus Usyk, and that fight definitely could happen next." But I agree with what you're saying. I think a Talma needs that fight between a faded Dillian White and the best heavyweight in the world. He 100% needs that. It's too much of a jump up in levels. Final question from me to you, Elliot. I'm not going to ask you what you want. I'm going to ask you what you think. What do you think's going to happen here? Usyk, I personally think his next fight will be January, February, March 2026. I think he's not going to be out again before the end of the year. Say that is true. What do you think's going to happen?
I think he will fight Joe Parker actually. I can maybe see that fight happening next. I think after that though, I actually think depending on what happens, depending on I can actually maybe see him entertaining a trilogy fight with someone like Tyson Fury.
Mm,
I don't necessarily want him to do that, but I've got with suspicion if Fury does come back and he kind of looks okay, it seems like he just wants that fight again, and I feel like he's almost got like a good in with Turkey and the Riddius team as well. They seem to be sort of fans of Fury, so I genuinely could see a kind of Parker than a Fury. But what
yeah.
I would want to happen, they didn't want to don't good care obviously what I want to happen, but what I would want to happen would be maybe for you to have one more just leave. I think maybe like have the Parker fight and then just call it a day. I don't want to. I personally wouldn't want to see him fight Tyson Fury a third time. Just I feel like maybe he loses a bit. Maybe Fury's a bit better after rest. Maybe he gets a close points decision that kind of tarnishes things for me. So I think if I'm Usyk, maybe have one more and then maybe call it a day. But whether he does or not, we've seen fighters go 40 plus now. Maybe he has two. Maybe his mind's got two, three more. Maybe he wants to keep Ukraine in the news. Obviously with the conflict that's going on there as well. Maybe he feels like a wider responsibility. But yeah, I definitely think Parker next and then possibly Fury after that.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Look, there's lots of questions to be answered. I feel like we're in a heavyweight division now where there's not too much activity going on, but there's plenty of talk. So hopefully that kind of changes and we see some big fights get made in the next 12 months. Elliot, thank you for your time as always. I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much, man. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.